Every year, 30% of all media spend on making and marketing content is wasted. In North America alone, that accounts to $81 billion. A team of USC researchers has been working to solve this problem using frontier AI technology. In this presentation, Yves Bergquist, Program Director of AI and Neuroscience in Media and Entertainment at USC, will tell us more about exciting research and findings.
Hi everyone, welcome to the computational storytelling session at Data Science Salon. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Yves Bergquist. I am the director of the AI and Neuroscience in Media project at the Entertainment Technology Center at the USC School of Cinematic Arts. ETC is a think tank and research lab funded by all the Hollywood studios and a lot of large, plus Amazon Studios now, and a lot of large technology companies like Microsoft, Cisco, Verizon, et cetera, et cetera. What we do at ETC is we help the media industry down the path of technological disruption. What does that mean? We help educate them, bring some awareness, do some proof of concepts, do some hardcore research, and also set standards, help set standards. We have 4 areas of focus: virtual production, AI and neuroscience in media, immersive media, and 5G. And as I mentioned, what we do is we do a lot of education, we do a lot of roundtables, discussions around standardization and research, which I'll show a little bit of. The media industry is in a really interesting position. In terms of product, it sells and manufactures and distributes brain states, which, as you can imagine, is quite a challenge considering there's no neuroscientists involved in producing content. The market reality is also quite complex, where you have stable demand. There's only 24 hours in a day. There's never going to be more than that. The supply of media content of entertainment experiences is way up. And certainly with platforms like TikTok merging left and right, the supply is exploding. So very high competition. And also one of the main challenges of the industry is that the customers are the expert in the product. Right? All of our brains have been trained to watch tens of thousands of pieces of content. And so we're very, very expert and very trained in what we like, what's a good story versus a bad story. That's why most of us think advertising sucks, because our brain doesn't make any difference between a Bleach brand advertisement and Game of Thrones. And obviously Game of Thrones is way better. So very unstable market, very opaque product in terms of the neuroscience behind it, and also very, very expensive and manual to produce, right? The way content is produced today is not that different than the way it was produced 30 years ago. Obviously, there's just a lot of technology coming down the pipe to change that and make it quicker and cheaper, but this is still at the experimental stage. The challenge in terms of data for the media industry is that you have 3 challenges, right? You have a representation challenge, meaning that you have a lot of data with different formats and ontologies, and you have to sort of find out a way to connect it together. It's all relevant to the same issues, but it's very, very difficult to unify semantically. You have a modeling challenge. It's no tools to unify and analyze the data programmatically, automatically. You have to do it very, very manually, and there's a lot of disconnect still in the media industry between the data scientists and the business people. And there's a UI challenge, right? And the UI challenge is tied to the fact that a lot of the consumers of the data and the analytics don't have the times, the resources, or the training often to really deeply understand an analytical product and a data product. So those are the challenges that we at ETC are trying to solve. And this is how we're trying to solve them. One, we have built a set of tools to create semantic representations around probabilistic graph models and information theoretic models. If you have more interest in that area, which we feel very, very passionate about and militant about, you can email me to have more details. But basically, trying to represent all of that data across formats and ontologies semantically using graphs and hypergraphs. The modeling issue we're trying to solve using hybrid of symbolic and sub-symbolic methods, knowledge graphs and deep learning architectures together. And so we also try to make all of our models hierarchical and multimodal, and trying to create some programmatic capabilities on top of it using evolutionary meta learning. And then in terms of the UI challenge, everything that we built is natural language based. So it's just asking questions to your data, a little bit like Alexa, but for enterprise. But the goal there is to create kind of a Jarvis type interface. And so this is how it looks like, right? So we've built a tool called Cordo, which is entirely natural language based, and you can upload a script and get a whole bunch of data about not only the comparables for the script, the commercial viability of the script, but also what kind of audiences are predicted to resonate and how much they're predicted to resonate with the script. This is based on a bunch of research that we've done for the past 4 years, one of which really has to do with extracting sort of the narrative domains and the narrative structure directly from the text and being able to infer the algorithmic structure of narrative across 4 dimensions. You know, what's the overall story about? What's the main character about? What's the impact character about? And what is the relationship story between these 2 characters about at different points during the movie, and trying to predict performance and audience affinity based on combinations and permutations in these structures. We have a script parsing application that extrapolates emotional tonalities across 60 different dimensions. This we're using also now to try to understand stereotypes and bias related to minorities in media content. The big picture of all of this is to create a machine language for content. And what is that? Well, media makers and media distributors have enormous amounts of content data, whether it's scripts, video, audio, and virtually none of it is searchable currently. And so one of the big challenges in the media industry is called digital asset management, digital semantic archiving, which is how do you index all this content and able to search it for things like, you know, objects, color schemes, edit pace, emotional tonalities, obviously composition, shot types, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really one of our big focuses at ETC for the past year moving into 2021 is to create tools, machine based tool that can extract a lot of features directly from video, not just from the image itself or the audio, but also the narrative structures. And the idea there is that we want to be able to index all these features through embeddings and understand their relationships. Right? The idea is, can we create a machine language that would understand how certain narrative attributes, certain emotions are expressed visually, or from an audio perspective, across the history of film, across different genres, across different creatives, right? Show me how Scorsese depicts a female character getting her power back versus Tarantino versus Coppola. So that's really how everything fits together in terms of the big vision of what we're building, and we're well on our way to do that. In terms of audience intelligence, one of the big priorities that we've had was to better understand virality. It's what we call the viral pathways. So we all know that digital communities activate one another about certain topics, and certain communities are more influential in activating other communities online, etc. Nobody's ever found out what happens, and nobody's ever brought science into it. So we've used complex network analysis and natural language processing to really try to understand what communities are more influential on what other communities and about what topics, and what topics and emotions are more effective in activating certain communities, and then they'll activate other communities, right? So this is kind of how it looks like. We did a case study for for a network, looking at using the Cordo stack, looking at how various fan communities activate one another about the show and what activates them. So here we see that when kaiju fans, manga fans, and DC comic fans talk to and activate NFL fans, UFC fans, Marvel, Pokemon, and horror fans, which we call the swayable communities. And the swayable communities are the communities that are on the fence, right? They could be swayed to go check out the show, or they could be they could check out another show, right? So the swayable communities are generally a big focus of the marketing campaigns, because we know that if we're activating them properly, they will not only take action and watch the show, but they will probably influence a lot of other communities to watch the show. So when these communities talk to these communities about the series music, the visual effects, the lead female character, and the sense of suspense and thrill from the story, then the ratings go up, right? And so this is how marketing, the marketing department in that studio used there, right? So target these communities, the fan communities, with marketing content highlighting these attributes of this series, so that they will activate these communities and spread the buzz everywhere else. So that's how viral pathways work. This is what we did for a brand, because obviously we don't differentiate media content between TV, film, and advertising. It's all stories. So we do work with a lot of brands and advertisers. There's a lot of interesting stuff that happens when you mix content, conversations about the content, and performance of the content together. So this was a study that we did a couple of years ago, looking at a TV show and looking at predicting the ratings of the TV show with certain character level emotional dimensions, emotional journeys, and narrative structures. Can we predict that a show's rating are going to go up or down based on intrinsic attributes of the character? So we run a bunch of scripts for the series. We ingested the ratings, and we ingested all the social media conversations about the series and the characters. And we found something really interesting. We found that indeed certain character attributes were predicting a non-trivial amount of the variance in the ratings, and then we were able to verify that by looking at the social media conversations. So this is the kind of stuff that we've been doing, trying to mix, content data with audience data with performance data. Again, that's the AI approach versus the analytics approach, which would be analyzing these data sets independently from one another. This is kind of an extension of the previous work, where we can find out and optimize certain aspects of emotional tonalities and topics around talk shows. So when Oprah talk about certain topic clusters, which I don't recall what they were, but I think one of them is marriage and the other one is personal finance. She talks about cluster 6, in a cold, depressed, and assertive way or aggressive way. The ratings go down. When she talks about cluster 6 in an ambitious, cooperative, disciplined way, the ratings are going to go up. And this is how it extends to other talk show hosts. We did this for a brand as well, looking at their content, around skate, BMX, painting, street, et cetera, and we were able to then optimize the content based on the emotional tonality expressed in the content by topic. It extends to other domains of media, right? Not just film, TV, and advertising. We use the same methodology and the same tech stack to predict Spotify performance across 4,000 tracks with 98% accuracy, using a mixed hybrid model, extracting features about the content, extracting features about the conversations about the content, and extracting features about the performance of the content on Spotify. And this is kind of how it looked like, right? We have a variety of frameworks analyzing a variety of data, and then it's all wrapped into probabilistic evolutionary meta-learning, and we're able to output some fairly precise, as it turns out, predictions about Spotify plays directly from the structure of the content, meaning the songs themselves, conversations about the content and the artist over time, and also the first 12 hours of Spotify data. And this is kind of how we were able to understand how the artist Khalil became popular, looking at the earliest possible signs of mentions of Khalil on social media and the performance of his content on social media. It's basically looking at natural language conversations over time in a time series environment. The last thing I wanted to talk about is what we're building now, which is called Geist. And Geist is basically looking at what's happening in the zeitgeist, right? So you can define a community, any community that you want: horror fans, sneakerheads, Star Wars fans, baseball fans, skateboard fans, and then we can extract across dozens of channels in social media in the US, Europe, and in China, and extract very granular data about which entities, ideas, books, films, TV shows, persons have a big brand and have velocity in their brand. So we're not only able to characterize the brand and score it, we're able to infer and predict how that brand's going to do over time. It's basically like a stock market for films, TV shows, brands, products, and people. Right? We want to be able to understand what is the value of various brands in various communities in the zeitgeist, and how do they fit in the economy of attention, right? So we all know that audiences have a very short time span. That's why we think it's important to be able to measure who's hot and who's not, and who has velocity and who doesn't have velocity, or what in the zeitgeist. So that's what we're building right now. We've used this to basically try to understand which personalities would be more effective in pushing Black Lives Matter content in various communities. So this is a mock-up. This is actually not what we found, but this is because we can't talk about it. But this is an example of the kind of stuff that we found, except that those are not the personalities that we discovered. Basically mining social media conversations, looking at which, here it's on Reddit. We've done a lot of work on Reddit because Reddit is extremely predictive and extremely powerful for entertainment. And so basically mining conversations on Reddit, and Reddit also gives you the communities very tightly packaged by subreddit, so that's really convenient. And basically extracting entities and calculating a bunch of metrics about these entities and how effective they are in pushing certain topics in a specific community. And so that's basically, in a nutshell, all the stuff that we're doing. Not a lot of time. We've only scratched the surface of what's possible. And what I wanted to conclude with is, in my experience over the past 4 years, the entertainment and the media community is actually extremely sophisticated in thinking about data analytics and artificial intelligence, and extremely eager to embrace these methods, including the creative community, by the way. But it has to be done properly. It has to be done the right way. It has to be done in a way that doesn't hurt the creative process. And so we spend a lot of time at ETC interfacing with the creative community and giving them a voice in designing all this stuff, because we want that to serve them. And at the end of the day, we are here to serve the creatives. We're here to serve the creative process. We're here to serve the art versus the business. And that's why we're excited about doing what we're doing, where we're doing it, because we're right in the middle of that creative community, and we're able to engage with them, and they're able to engage with us, and we're able to develop this in a way that is not threatening, at the same time has scale, because we have access to all of the studio and the entire media community, but also is very soft in the sense that it involves all the stakeholders in that community and gives them a chance to weigh in on the technology, which is what ETC is about. If you have any question, you can email me at eve@atcusc.org or eve@corto.ai. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this presentation by Yves Bergquist, Program Director of AI and Neuroscience in Media and Entertainment at USC. If you'd like to watch more videos focused on AI and machine learning applications in some of the hottest industries, check out the full playlist of the business track here on YouTube.